King Solomon was an Atlantean. The story of Atlantis is represented by King Solomon. It's just a retelling. So back into this book here, our story of Atlantis, and there's some interesting things I'm finding here. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I kind of think that the story of King Solomon is just the story of Atlantis retold. Uh, a group or a person that acquired extreme wisdom, that was blessed with extreme wisdom, that was chosen, that came from a righteous bloodline, that came from a chosen bloodline, was given extreme wisdom. Think about it, America, the dove, Solomon wisdom, the dove, personally given to this landmass or these people or this person. And I'm reading this story of Atlantis here, or this really, really old book, Our Story of Atlantis, and it goes deep into a lot of this stuff that was on Atlantis. And it keeps on, so many chapters keeps on talking about this tower that was on Atlantis and how essentially the Atlanteans had access to all the elementals of this world, the spirits of this world. They can control them. It says these elemental beings will be classed in later days as salamanders, water spirits, kobolds, goblins, dwarfs. They are the workers in the fire, the water, and the earth and the rocks. And I have a book called Witchcraft. The letters written on witchcraft. And it said at a period of time, a lot of these elementals were sent below the earth. And kind of in the movie Hellboy, it talks about that too, how there was a deal made with a lot of these creatures and lesser creations, as it said. Essentially, you get the underworld, we get the surface, we get the sun, we get the surface, and they kind of were pushed. And it seems like there was a deal made with man where a lot of these creatures went underground. But a lot of the gold and wealth, just like with King Solomon, who did King Solomon have building the temple? Different elemental spirits, different demonic spirits. Now, usually they're all classified as demons with the story of Solomon, but here with the building of Atlantis and the acquiring of a lot of its wealth, it says a lot of the building was done by these people, and a lot of labor was done by these elementals, but the gold and the minerals and the spiritual stuff themselves, it says, was not touched by them. They didn't. That was straight through alchemy and positive thinking, and literally they were transmuting base metals through different things into gold and silver and other vast amounts of wealth that these elementals were actually storing for them. They wouldn't actually create or get the wealth. They would just be used to move it. But let me read this right here. Upon the inner door that opens into this treasury rest upon a seal. This is underwater. Upon this seal is the following inscription: the potent will of the Most Mighty holds this treasure safely until the time of the restoration shall come. The angel of the waters has charge of it. This is just a mass of wealth and gold that they said that no man can even begin to describe how much wealth, gold, and artifacts are hidden, are stored up into this mountain. And it says this, by the way, the karma on this gold and on this wealth is clear. There's no bad karma tied to this wealth that's being stored for the end time. Now, this temple, this giant temple or tower that was built in Atlantis, again, had different things, and it goes and it's completely based off of the practice of as above, so below. So on the surface, going up into the sky, it says it reached the highest levels of the clouds, and it reached the lowest depths of the earth down to the pits of the earth, it says. And every type of elemental spirit, whether good or bad, they said, was working or had access, or they had access, the Atlanteans had access to them. No human eye hath seen, nor any tongue describe the immensity of the wealth lying to this day in that strong mountain treasury beneath the waves. There is enough gold lying in it to destroy the value of gold now and use upon the earth. But when the day of its discovery shall come, it will belong to a nation who shall have so purified itself from avarice that there will be no karmic weight transferred from this treasure to the shoulders of its finders. Now, if you think about it, a group of people granted with extreme wisdom, a temple, control over elemental spirits, helping them build and move a lot of this stuff. Sounds like King Solomon to me. And when you talk about alchemy and you go into alchemy and the science and the study of alchemy and the practice of alchemy, it has great ties to who? King Solomon. The technology of Atlantis, the flying carpets. What book was I reading? Now, remember this book, we go into the technology, the Vermont, the flying crafts that it talks about were in Atlantis or that came from Atlantis. Remember the book that I read about the UFO by Dr. Doriel? Shout out to the brother Neophyte that brought that book out a while ago. That book is so great. So many people want sources on that book. But it talks about the flying craft that they find. It belongs to two groups of people, different time zones. A lot of the UFOs that they find are leftover flying crafts from Atlantis. They had fleets, just like we have naval fleets everywhere where you have that stuff. You also have the fleets that they would leave, or you would find aircraft fleets. You would go into an old aircraft carrier, or there's aircraft places or air force places where you just find large carriers of nothing but airplanes. The same thing you would find with this. Who also is connected with flying crafts? That's right, King Solomon. King Solomon's flying crafts. Our flying craft and its technology is linked directly to Atlantis. And we're going to go visit this book real quick, Zion's Redemption. Now Jeremiah hid these things in a cave 1 year prior to the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians. The Most High and the earth swallowing things up to protect them and to hide them for further generations or for further people to go and discover is completely true, and you can reference that through scripture. So again, the Atlanteans, a temple, a tower, using different demons or elemental forces, whether it's like they said over here. Hold on, let me go find it. Let's see. The tunnel of the water spirits communicated directly with the seas. The tunnel of the fire spirits. This also connects with the Essenes and the Essene. And if the same way as above, so below, Solomon had contact with angels, he also had contact with the entities that are below, just as below the angels. So you have the angels above you, below you, you got the demons that he had contact with and control over. The temple reached all the way up into the air, just like the Essene tree of life that I was drawing. It goes all the way up into the air, and then equally goes all the way down into the earth. It shows as above, so below. Atlantis has huge ties to that as above, so below philosophy that I'm reading in this book. And again, the Atlanteans had control over these elemental spirits, or were working with these elemental spirits, both above, that reached all the way up into the stars in the highest of the clouds, and goes all the way down into the pits and the depths of the earth. Let's read that right here. The tower, which lifted proudly its head on high, went down into the mountains the same distance, and the cellars and the subcellars were occupied by beings who belonged to the lower races and who had been subjugated by the spiritual powers of those who held sway in the upper chambers. Interesting. Oh, by the way, there's lots of tunnels connecting, a lot of tunnels connecting the continents, and that were going beneath the island of, or going beneath Atlantis to other places. So again, I think it's fair to say that the story of Solomon is just a story of Atlantis represented by a man, showing our height. And as you read the Bible, you see that so many times. It's just not repeats, but another telling of the same story, of the same journey, of the same understanding or teachings that you should be getting from something, just put with a different character or put under a different character. Like I'm reading in this book right here, back on Elisha or Elijah. There's the title of Elias. It's a title. It's a title. John the Baptist was Elias. Noah was an Elias. Enoch was an Elias. That which belonged to the Atlanteans as a nation, intellectually and morally, was the control of all knowledge except that which belonged to the origin and power of life. This concerns the one alone,